The cargo ship Harmony's Dream moved slowly through space like a fat whale swimming through dark water. Inside its huge belly were thousands of Villani families going to their new home on Kepler Station. The Villani looked like tall rabbits that walked on two legs and had soft blue fur covering their gentle faces. They spoke in quiet voices and never fought about anything. Their children played simple games in the ship's corridors, while their parents talked about the peaceful life waiting for them. Captain Yoon stood on the bridge watching the stars. He was human and much shorter than the Villani crew around him. His black hair was cut short and his dark eyes moved constantly watching everything. The other humans with him were Bok and Hana. Bok was thick and strong with scars on his hands. Hana was small and quick with fingers that never stopped moving over her control panels. The three humans worked as security advisors for the Galactic Trade Company. Most ships only hired them when they expected trouble. The Villani captain, Tella, came to stand beside Yoon. Her long ears drooped with worry. "Captain Yoon, do you think we will reach Kepler Station safely?" she asked in her soft voice. "The shipping routes have been dangerous lately. Many ships have disappeared." Yoon nodded slowly. "We will be fine, Captain Tella. My team and I are here to make sure of that." He did not tell her that 3 other cargo ships had vanished in this sector in the past month. He did not tell her that all the missing ships carried peaceful species like the Villani. He did not tell her that his team was not really here just as security advisors. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments. Then the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. The Villani crew jumped like frightened animals. Their ears went flat against their heads, and they made small crying sounds. Unknown ships approaching fast called out the Villani sensor operator. His voice shook with fear. 6 vessels coming in attack formation. They are not responding to our calls." Yoon moved to the main screen. 6 dark ships shaped like spears cut through space toward them. He knew those designs. Kravak Dominion warships. The Kravak were large lizard creatures who loved war and taking slaves. They had been growing stronger and more bold in recent years. "Captain Tella, get your people to the safe rooms now," Yoon said. His voice stayed calm, but his eyes went hard. "Lock down all sections. Do not let anyone out until I say it is safe." The Villani captain started to argue, but Yoon was already moving. He went to a hidden panel and pulled out a small device. Bok and Hana came to stand beside him. All 3 humans changed. Their faces became cold and focused, like hunters who had found their prey. "Hana, start the beacon," Yoon said. "Full military distress code, priority alpha." "Are you sure?" Hana asked. Her small fingers moved over the device. "Once we send this, there is no going back. They will know what we really are." "Send it," Yoon said. The Kravak just made a big mistake. The beacon activated with a soft chime. It sent a signal through space faster than light. The signal would reach human space in minutes, but the message was not asking for help or mercy. It was telling the human military that their people were in danger. The Kravak ship surrounded Harmony's Dream like wolves around a sheep. The largest ship moved close. Its hull was covered with spikes and weapon ports. A voice came over the radio speaking in broken galactic common. "Weak prey ship, you will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. I am General Thex of the Kravak, 3rd Fleet. Your cargo and passengers belong to us now. Resist and we will kill you all slowly." Captain Tella looked at Yoon with tears in her large eyes. "What do we do, Captain Yoon? We cannot fight them. We are not warriors like you humans." Yoon touched the communication button. "General Thex, this is Captain Yoon of the Human Security Team. We have women and children on this ship. Peaceful civilians who have done nothing to harm you." General Thex laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. "Humans, eh? I have heard of your kind. You talk much about peace and mercy. You will talk again when I start cutting up your precious civilians. Prepare to be boarded, Deathworlder." The communication cut off. Yoon turned to his team. "How long do we need to hold them?" Bok checked his watch. 6 hours minimum, maybe 7 depending on which ships respond to the beacon. "Can we keep these people alive that long?" Hana asked. Yoon looked at the Villani crew. They were all crying now. Some had children with them who did not understand what was happening. The little ones played games while their parents tried not to scream with fear. "We will do what we have to do," Yoon said. Just like always. The Kravak boarding ships attached to Harmony's Dream with loud banging sounds. The hull shook as cutting tools started working through the airlock doors. Yoon opened a channel to all sections of the ship. "Attention all passengers and crew. We are being boarded by hostile forces. Stay in your safe rooms and do not come out no matter what you hear. Help is coming. You just need to stay alive for 6 hours." Captain Tella grabbed Yoon's arm. 6 hours. How can you be sure help will come in 6 hours? The nearest galactic patrol station is 3 days away. Yoon smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Captain Tella, the galactic patrol is not coming to help us. Someone else is. Someone much better at handling problems like General Thex." The airlock doors exploded inward. Kravak soldiers poured through the opening. They were huge lizard creatures, covered in dark green scales. Each one carried weapons that could kill a dozen beings with one shot. Their eyes glowed yellow in their reptile faces. Their claws clicked on the metal floor as they moved. The lead Kravak pointed his weapon at Yoon. "You must be the human who thinks he can talk his way out of this. Where I come from, humans are just another weak species that begs for mercy." "Where I come from," Yoon said, "mercy means something very different." General Thex came through the airlock. He was bigger than the other Kravak and had gold bands around his thick arms. Old scars covered his face and neck. "So you are the famous human warriors I have heard stories about. You do not look so dangerous to me." "Looks can be fooling," Bach said. His big hands stayed relaxed at his sides. "Indeed, they can." General Thex said, "Take them to the holding area with the other prisoners. I want to have some fun with them later. But first, bring me some of those soft Villani children. I want to show everyone what happens to those who travel with humans." Yoon's face did not change, but something cold moved behind his eyes. "General, I would not do that if I were you." "And why not human? What are you going to do about it? Call for help. Send another one of your mercy signals." "I already did," Yoon said. 6 hours ago." General Thex laughed again. "Then I will make sure to finish my business with your friends before your rescue ships arrive. I wonder what they will think when they find only pieces of you left." As the Kravak soldiers pushed the humans toward the holding areas, Yoon looked at his watch. 5 hours and 57 minutes to go. He hoped the Villani could stay hidden that long. He hoped the children would stay quiet. Most of all, he hoped that Admiral Park was having a good day and feeling generous with his firepower, because General Thex was about to learn what human mercy really looked like. Admiral Park stood in his command center on the battleship Soul's Fury and watched the emergency alert flash red across every screen. The message was simple, but it made his blood turn cold. Human citizens under attack by Kravak forces in the Meridian sector. Hostages taken. Mercy protocol activated. Park was 50 years old and had fought in more battles than he could count. His face was hard like stone and his gray hair was cut military short. Scars ran down his left arm from when machine claws had tried to tear him apart during the Great War. He had seen humans die in every terrible way possible. He had also seen what humans could do when someone threatened their people. "Get me the 7th Fleet," he said to his communications officer. "Full battle formation. We launch in 20 minutes. The officer's eyes went wide. "Sir, the full fleet. That is 12 heavy cruisers and 40 destroyers. Are you sure we need that much firepower for one cargo ship rescue?" Park turned to look at the young man. "Lieutenant, when humans send a mercy signal, it means they are going to die trying to protect innocents. When someone attacks our people, they learn that human mercy is not what they expected. Get me those ships now." 20 minutes later, space around the human military base exploded with light as 52 warships activated their faster-than-light drives. The Soul's Fury led the way, followed by ships with names like Busan's Edge and Incheon's Hammer. Each ship carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Their crews were veterans who had learned to fight against an enemy that never stopped and never surrendered. On the cargo ship, Harmony's Dream things had gotten much worse. General Thex had found the safe rooms where the Villani families were hiding. His soldiers dragged out crying parents and terrified children. The little ones did not understand why the scary lizard creatures were hurting their mothers and fathers. Thex set up cameras so he could broadcast what happened next to the entire ship. He wanted everyone to see what would happen to them. He especially wanted the humans to watch and know they had failed to protect anyone. "Attention, weak creatures," his voice echoed through every speaker. "You will now see what happens when you trust humans to keep you safe. These Deathworlders promise protection, but they are just as helpless as you are." Captain Yoon sat in the holding area with his hands tied behind his back. Bach and Hana were beside him, also bound with thick chains. But Yoon was not looking at the bonds. He was watching the guards and counting their weapons. Bach was studying the room layout and noting where the cameras could not see. Hana was listening to radio traffic and mapping the Kravak ship positions in her head. "You seem very calm for someone whose people are about to die," said the Kravak guard standing over them. "Do you not care about them?" "I care very much," Yoon said. "That is why I am not worried." The guard hit him across the face with a clawed hand. Blood ran down Yoon's cheek, but he did not make a sound. "Your rescue ships will find only bodies when they arrive human. My general enjoys making examples of those who oppose us." On the screen they could all see General Thex standing over a small Villani child. The little one was crying for his mother, who was tied up nearby. Thex held a curved knife in his scaled hand. He spoke to the camera while keeping his yellow eyes on the child. "This is what happens when you travel with humans," he said. "They promise to protect you, but they are weak just like all the other prey species. Watch as I show you how weak they really are." Captain Yoon spoke quietly to Bach without looking at him. "Mark his position. When this is over, I want him alive long enough to understand what he did wrong." "Copy that," Bach whispered back. The knife moved toward the child. The little Villani screamed. His mother begged in her soft voice for mercy. Other passengers watched in horror as the blade came closer to innocent flesh. Then space itself seemed to tear apart outside the ship. 52 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They moved like a school of deadly fish through the black water between stars. Their weapon systems came online with flashes of blue light, their shields activated with crackling energy fields. General Thex stopped with his knife halfway to the child. He looked up at a screen showing the space outside. His mouth fell open, showing rows of sharp teeth. Where he expected to see one or two small rescue ships, he saw an entire human battle fleet. Admiral Park's voice came over every speaker on every Kravak ship. It was calm and cold, like winter wind. "Kravak vessels, you have attacked human citizens and taken hostages. You have 30 seconds to surrender all prisoners and prepare to be boarded. Refusal to comply will result in your immediate destruction." General Thex grabbed his communication device. "What is this madness? I captured one small cargo ship. Why do you bring an entire fleet?" Because General Admiral Park replied, "You made the mistake of thinking human mercy means what it means to your people. You thought we would come here to talk and negotiate and beg for our people's lives. You were wrong. But surely you will not risk the lives of the hostages," Thex said. His voice was not as confident as before. "If you attack us, the prisoners will die. General, you have already shown us that you plan to kill the prisoners no matter what we do. So now you get to learn what human mercy actually looks like." The human fleet spread out around the Kravak ships like wolves surrounding their prey. The destroyers moved with impossible speed while the heavy cruisers locked their massive guns onto targets. Captain Lee commanded the destroyer Busan's Edge and spoke to his crew over the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is not a rescue mission," he said. "This is pest control. These creatures threatened human citizens and innocent civilians under our protection. Show them the same mercy they showed to children." The Kravak ships tried to run, but human vessels were faster. They tried to fight, but human weapons were stronger. They tried to use the hostages as shields, but human targeting systems could hit a coin in space without touching anything around it. General Thex watched his fleet die around him and finally understood his mistake. He had thought humans were like other species who would trade and bargain for their people's lives. He had not realized that humans had learned long ago that the best way to save hostages was to kill the hostage takers as quickly as possible. "This is not mercy," he screamed into his radio. This is slaughter. No, General, Admiral Park replied, as his ships destroyed another Kravak cruiser. This is what mercy looks like when it comes from a species that evolved by being the most dangerous thing on their planet. We are being very merciful. We are making this quick. Back on the cargo, Ship Captain Yoon felt the chains around his wrist break as Hana picked the locks. The Kravak guards were too busy watching their ships die to notice 3 humans getting free. Bok moved like a shadow toward the first guard. His thick hands found the lizard creature's neck and squeezed. The guard dropped without making a sound. Yoon stood up and straightened his clothes. Blood still ran down his cheek from where the guard had hit him, but his eyes were calm and focused. "Time to go collect General Thex," he said. "What about his knife?" Hana asked. On the screen, they could see Thex still holding the blade over the crying child. Yoon smiled, and it was colder than space between stars. "Do not worry about the knife. Worry about what we are going to do to him after we take it away." The 3 humans moved through the ship like hunting cats. Every Kravak they found went down fast and quiet. They used the creature's own weapons against them and their knowledge of Kravak weak points to end fights before they started. By the time they reached General Thex, most of his crew was already dead or unconscious. Thex turned around just as Yoon walked into the room where he held the hostages. The general still had his knife in one hand, but now his other hand shook with fear. Around him, his proud fleet was burning debris in space. "Stay back, human," he said. "I will kill the child." Yoon kept walking toward him. "No, General, you will not." "Why do you say that?" "I have the knife. I have the power here." Yoon stopped just out of reach and looked Thex in the eyes. "Because, General, you are about to learn the most important lesson about human mercy. We do not show mercy by letting evil live. We show mercy by making sure evil dies before it can hurt anyone else ever." Again. Behind Thex, the last Kravak warship exploded in a ball of fire. The general looked at the screen and saw nothing but human ships and floating wreckage. His empire's 3rd fleet was gone. His career was over. His life would end soon. "What kind of species are you?" he whispered. "The kind," said Yoon as he took the knife away from the shaking lizard, "that keeps its promises about protecting people, even when it means showing mercy in ways you never expected." Space tore open like fabric being ripped apart. The first ship through was Sol's Fury, with Admiral Park standing on its bridge. Behind it came 11 more heavy cruisers, each one bigger than 3 Kravak ships put together. Then 40 destroyers appeared, moving fast and deadly through the dark. The human fleet spread out in perfect formation like they had practiced this dance 1,000 times. General Thex stared at the screens showing space around his position. Where he had expected one small rescue ship begging for mercy, he saw 52 warships armed for total destruction. His scaled hands began to shake as he counted weapon signatures and shield readings. Each human destroyer carried more firepower than his entire boarding party. The heavy cruisers could crack planets in half. "This cannot be real," he whispered to his second in command. "No species sends this much force to rescue one cargo ship. It makes no sense." His aide was a smaller Kravak named Vex, who had served in their military for 20 years. Even he looked frightened by what filled their sensor screens. "General, perhaps we should reconsider our position. The humans appear to be taking this situation more seriously than we anticipated." Admiral Park opened communication channels to every Kravak vessel in the area. His voice was calm and cold like metal in winter. "Attention, Kravak forces. You have committed acts of piracy against vessels under human protection. You have taken hostages, including civilian families and children. This is Admiral Park of the Human 7th Fleet. You have 30 seconds to release all prisoners and prepare for boarding. Any refusal will result in your immediate and complete destruction." General Thex grabbed his communication device with claws that clicked against its metal surface. "Admiral Park, I am General Thex of the Kravak 3rd Fleet. You cannot threaten us. We have your people as hostages. If you attack us, they will die." "General Thex," Admiral Park replied, "you seem to misunderstand the situation. Those people you are threatening are under human protection. That means their safety is guaranteed by the full might of human military forces. It also means that anyone who harms them faces the consequences of making an enemy of our entire species. But surely you will negotiate, Thex said. His voice carried less confidence than before. We can make a deal. Your people for safe passage to our territory. General, there will be no negotiation. You made your choice when you decided to threaten human citizens. Now you face the results of that choice. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the destroyer Busan's Edge, watching his tactical displays light up with target information. His ship was small and fast-built for hunting enemy vessels through asteroid fields and planetary rings. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing weapons and shields for combat. Captain, his weapons officer called out, "We have target locks on all Kravak vessels. Shall we begin the attack?" "Not yet," Lee replied. "Admiral Park wants to give them every chance to surrender. We are not barbarians who kill without offering mercy first." On the heavy cruiser Incheon's hammer, Captain Song studied the Kravak fleet formation through her command screens. The lizard ships were built for intimidating weaker species, not for fighting real wars. Their weapons were designed to destroy cargo vessels and civilian transports. Their armor could barely stop mining lasers, let alone military-grade plasma cannons. Their ships are older models, she reported to Admiral Park over secure communication. Minimal shielding and weak hull plating. If they choose to fight, this will be over quickly. Understood, Captain Song, Admiral Park responded. But remember, we have hostages aboard that cargo ship. Precision will be required. Inside the cargo ship, Harmony's dream Captain Yoon sat in the holding area, with his hands bound behind his back. But his eyes were busy studying every detail of the room and the guards watching them. Beside him, Bok appeared to be sleeping, but was actually listening to the movement patterns of Kravak soldiers throughout the ship. Hana kept her head down, but her fingers worked silently at the locks holding her chains. The Kravak guard standing over them looked nervous as reports came in about the human fleet outside. "Your rescue ships will not save you," he said, but his voice shook slightly. "General Thex will kill all the hostages before he lets you go." "That would be unfortunate," Yoon replied calmly. "For him. You talk big for someone who is tied up and helpless human." "Am I helpless?" Yoon asked. "Are you certain about that?" The guard raised his weapon and pointed it at Yoon's head. "One more word and I will show you how helpless you are." Yoon smiled but said nothing more. He did not need to. The timer in his head showed 28 minutes since the beacon activation. The human fleet had arrived exactly when he expected them to. Admiral Park was probably giving the Kravak their final warning right now. Soon the real demonstration would begin. General Thex stood in his command center watching the human ships maneuver around his fleet. They moved with precision that made his stomach turn cold. Each vessel knew exactly where to go and what to do. There was no confusion or delay. These were not patrol ships or rescue vessels. These were warships crewed by people who had fought real wars against deadly enemies. "General," his communications officer called out, "the humans are demanding a response to their ultimatum. They say we have 10 seconds remaining." "10 seconds for what?" Thex demanded. "To surrender, sir." Thex looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Some looked frightened. Others looked angry. All of them were waiting for his decision. He had built his career on intimidating weaker species and taking what he wanted through fear. No prey species had ever challenged him like this. "Send a message to the human admiral," he ordered. "Tell him that if his ships come any closer, we will begin executing hostages, starting with their own people." The message went out over open channels so everyone could hear it. General Thex thought it would make the humans back down and start negotiating. He thought they would value individual lives over military objectives like other civilized species did. Admiral Park's response came back immediately. "General Thex, your threat has been noted and recorded. You now have 5 seconds to surrender before we demonstrate what human mercy actually means." 5 seconds, Thex screamed. "That is not enough time for anything." "It is enough time, Admiral," Park said, "for you to realize how badly you have misunderstood the situation." The countdown reached 0. Space around the Kravak fleet erupted in light and fire. The human destroyers moved first, striking fast and hard at the enemy ship's weapon, systems and engines. Their plasma bolts were perfectly aimed to disable rather than destroy. They wanted the Kravak ships helpless, not vaporized. Captain Lee's destroyer Busan's Edge danced between two Kravak cruisers, firing precisely targeted shots that knocked out their main guns without breaching their hulls. Weapons disabled on targets. 3 and 4, he reported. They are no longer a threat to the hostage ship. Captain Song's heavy cruiser Incheon's Hammer used its massive firepower to strip the shields from the Kravak command vessel. General Thex's ship is defenseless, she announced, ready for boarding action. One by one, the Kravak warships found themselves crippled and helpless. Their weapons were destroyed. Their engines were offline. Their shields were down, but their hulls remained intact and their crews were still alive. The humans had shown them a kind of mercy they did not expect. The mercy of overwhelming professional violence applied with surgical precision. General Thex watched his fleet die around him and finally understood his mistake. He had thought the humans would negotiate because that was what civilized species did. He had not realized that humans considered the protection of innocents to be non-negotiable. They did not bargain with kidnappers and hostage-takers. They eliminated them. "This is impossible," he said as his flagship shuddered under precise weapons fire. "No species fights like this. Where is your mercy? Where is your compassion?" Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system one final time. "General Thex, you are seeing our mercy and our compassion. We could have vaporized your entire fleet in the first 10 seconds of combat. Instead, we disabled your ships and kept your crews alive. We showed restraint when you showed none. We protected innocents while you threatened them. That is what human mercy looks like." "But you destroyed my fleet," Thex protested. "No, General, we stopped your fleet from hurting anyone else ever again. There is a difference. You threatened human citizens and innocent civilians under our protection. Did you really think we would respond with anything less than total commitment to ending that threat?" The Kravak command ship went dark as its final systems failed. Emergency lights flickered on, casting strange shadows across the bridge. "General." Thex sat in his command chair staring at screens that showed nothing but human ships and floating debris. His career was over. His fleet was destroyed. His reputation would never recover. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. "Now," Admiral Park said, "you get to live with the consequences of your choices. Your ships will be impounded. Your crews will be processed and returned to Kravak space with a message for your government. That message will explain what happens when anyone threatens people under human protection." "And me," Thex whispered. "You, General, get to stand trial for crimes against sapient beings. If you are fortunate, the court will show you the same mercy you showed to children today." The human fleet maintained position around the disabled Kravak vessels while boarding. The human boarding shuttles attached to the cargo ship Harmony's Dream, with soft metallic clicks that echoed through the corridors. Inside each shuttle sat 12 Marines in black-powered armor that made them look like mechanical demons. Their leader was Colonel Kim, a woman who had fought in the machine wars and learned that the best way to save lives was to end fights as quickly as possible. Colonel Kim spoke to her teams over secure radio as they prepared to enter the ship. "Remember, people, we have civilian hostages throughout this vessel. The Kravak have proven they will kill innocents, so we go in fast and hard. No warning shots, no second chances. Anyone pointing a weapon at civilians gets put down immediately." "Copy." That colonel came the responses from 48 Marines spread across 4 boarding shuttles. Each one carried weapons designed specifically for fighting Kravak physiology, sonic disruptors that would scramble their inner ear balance, flash charges calibrated to overload their reptilian vision, restraint foam that would harden around their scaled skin in seconds. The first team blasted through the airlock door in a shower of sparks and smoke. Sergeant Na led the point squad with his sonic rifle already aimed and ready. Behind him came Corporal Yu carrying a tactical shield and stun baton. The corridor ahead was dark and filled with the sounds of scared Villani families crying behind locked doors. 3 Kravak guards turned toward the sound of the explosion. Their yellow eyes went wide as they saw armored figures moving through the smoke like ghosts. They raised their weapons, but the humans were faster. Na's sonic disruptor hit the first guard with a focused sound wave that shattered his equilibrium. The lizard creature fell sideways into the wall, clutching his head and making horrible retching sounds. Yu's stun baton caught the second guard across his scaled throat. Electricity coursed through the Kravak's nervous system, dropping him to the deck in convulsions. The third guard managed to fire one shot that sparked harmlessly off Yu's tactical shield before a restraint foam grenade wrapped him in hardening polymer. Section 1 secure. Na reported. 3 hostiles down. No civilian casualties. Moving to Section 2. In the ship's main holding area, Captain Yoon felt his restraints suddenly loosen as Hana finished picking the locks. The Kravak guards were too busy listening to radio reports of fighting throughout the ship to notice 3 humans quietly freeing themselves. Bok stretched his thick arms and smiled coldly as feeling returned to his hands. "How many guards in this section?" Yoon whispered. 8. Hana replied softly. "Plus General Thex in the next compartment with the hostages." "Sonic weapons?" Bok asked. "Standard Kravak small arms, nothing that will penetrate marine armor but deadly to unprotected civilians." Yoon nodded and stood up slowly. The nearest guard finally noticed movement and started to turn around. He never completed the motion. Yoon's hands moved faster than the lizard creature could follow. One struck the guard's throat, crushing his windpipe. The other grabbed his weapon before it could fall and make noise. The second guard began to raise his rifle, but Bok was already behind him. The big humans, arm wrapped around the Kravak's neck and squeezed. The guard struggled for a few seconds, then went limp. Hana moved like a shadow toward the remaining guards, using her small size and quick reflexes to stay out of their line of sight. Within 30 seconds, all 8 guards were unconscious or dead. The 3 humans stood in the middle of the holding area, holding Kravak weapons and looking toward the door that led to General Thex. From the other side, they could hear the sound of crying children and the general's harsh voice making threats. "Colonel Kim, this is Captain Yoon." He spoke into the radio device taken from one of the guards. "My team has secured the main holding area. General Thex is in compartment 7 with approximately 20 hostages, including children." "Copy that." "Captain." Kim's voice came back immediately. "We are 2 minutes from your position. Can you maintain until we arrive?" "Negative, Colonel. The general is becoming increasingly unstable as his situation deteriorates. He may harm hostages before you reach us. My team is going in now." "Captain Yoon, you are not equipped for hostage rescue. Wait for my people." "With respect, Colonel, my team has been preparing for this exact situation since we came aboard this ship. We know the layout. We know the hostage positions. We know General Thex's psychological profile. We are going in." Yoon cut the radio connection and looked at his teammates. Bok had found a Kravak combat knife and was testing its edge against his thumb. Hana had armed herself with a shock weapon and several restraint devices. Both of them looked calm and ready, like they had done this 100 times before. "Are we really security advisors?" Hana asked with a small smile. "Today we are whatever these people need us to be," Yoon replied. They moved to the door leading to compartment 7. From inside they could hear General Thex shouting at someone. His voice was higher than before, filled with panic and rage. The sounds of children crying mixed with adult Villani, trying to comfort them in their soft musical language. Bok placed a small listening device against the door and nodded to confirm positions. 23 hostages scattered around the room. General Thex near the center, holding a knife to a small child's throat. 4 remaining Kravak soldiers positioned to cover the exits, all of them nervous and trigger-happy. "Breach and clear," Yoon whispered. Bok takes the soldiers. Hana handles crowd control. "I get Thex before he can hurt the child." "What if he kills the kid before you reach him?" Bok asked. Yoon's face went cold as winter metal. Then General Thex learns what happens when someone kills a child in front of a human. The door exploded inward as Bok's improvised explosive charge tore it from its frame. Smoke and sparks filled the compartment as 3 humans moved through the opening like hunting wolves. The Kravak soldiers tried to respond, but they were looking for armored Marines, not unarmored humans who moved like deadly shadows. Bok's knife found the first soldier's neck before the lizard creature could aim his weapon. The second guard turned toward the sound just as Bok's fist connected with his skull. The impact echoed through the room like a hammer hitting stone. The third and fourth guards managed to raise their rifles, but Hana was already among them. moving too fast for their reptilian reflexes to follow. Her shock weapon caught one guard in the chest, sending electricity through his scaled hide. He collapsed, twitching and making wet, gurgling sounds. The final guard swung his rifle toward the hostages, thinking to threaten them, but found Hana's small hand wrapped around his throat instead. Her fingers pressed against specific nerve clusters that she had memorized from Kravak anatomy charts. The guard dropped his weapon and fell to his knees, gasping for air that would not come. General Thex pressed his knife closer to the small Vellani child's throat as Yoon walked toward them through the smoke. The little one was too frightened to cry anymore. He just stood there shaking while tears ran down his soft blue fur. "Stay back, human," Thex screamed. "Come any closer and I will kill this child. I swear I will do it." Yoon kept walking. His face showed no emotion, but his dark eyes burned with something colder than space between stars. "General, you have already shown us what kind of creature you are. Threatening children does not make you stronger. It makes you a target." "I have the knife," Thex said, but his voice shook with fear. "I have the power here." "No, General. You have nothing. Your fleet is destroyed. Your soldiers are dead or captured. Your career is over. Your life is almost over. The only question remaining is whether you die quickly or slowly. The child dies first." Thex pressed the blade against the little one's throat hard enough to draw a thin line of blue blood. Yoon stopped walking and smiled. It was not a happy expression. "General, you just made the biggest mistake of your very short remaining life." "What are you talking about, human? I hold all the cards here. You hurt a child in front of me, General. Do you have any idea what that means in human culture? Do you understand what you have just triggered?" For the first time, General Thex looked uncertain. The human in front of him had changed. The calm, professional demeanor was gone, replaced by something primitive and deadly. This was not the face of a civilized being anymore. This was the face of an apex predator whose protective instincts had been activated. "I will kill him," Thex said again, but with less conviction than before. "No, General," Yoon said as he started walking forward again. "You will not. Stay back, or—" "I swear." "You swear what?" "That you will hurt more children, that you will cause more pain to innocents who have done nothing wrong, that you will continue to be the kind of monster that decent people have nightmares about." Yoon reached striking distance. General Thex raised the knife high above the child's head, preparing to plunge it down into soft flesh. The blade began to fall. The little Vellani closed his eyes and waited for pain that would never come. Yoon's hand caught Thex's wrist and stopped the knife inches from the child's head. His other hand grabbed the general's throat and lifted the massive lizard creature off his feet, like he weighed nothing at all. Thex's yellow eyes bulged as he found himself staring into the face of something that evolution had designed to kill. Things exactly like him. "This is human mercy, General," Yoon said quietly. "Quick, clean, final. No more suffering for anyone." The sound of Jenner. Dr. Han moved through the medical bay of the cargo ship Harmony's Dream with quiet efficiency. Her small hands worked gently on the injuries of Vellani civilians, while her dark eyes checked each patient for signs of trauma beyond the physical wounds. She had served as a combat medic during the machine wars and learned that healing people required more than just fixing their bodies. The young Vellani child that General Thex had threatened sat on an examination table while Han cleaned the thin cut on his throat. The little one's name was Pip, and he kept asking when the scary lizard creatures would come back. His large, innocent eyes looked around the room, constantly searching for new dangers. "The bad creatures are gone forever," Han told him in her soft voice while applying healing gel to his wound. "The human soldiers made sure they can never hurt anyone again. You are safe now, little one." "How do you know they will not come back?" Pip asked. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Because, Pip, when humans promise to protect someone, we keep that promise no matter what. It is who we are." Chief Bayek worked in the engine compartments, fixing damage the Kravak had caused during their boarding action. His thick arms moved precisely as he welded broken conduits and replaced damaged components. Around him, a team of human engineers restored power and life support to sections of the ship that had gone dark during the attack. The Vellani engineering staff watched in amazement as the humans repaired in hours what would have taken them days to fix. Beck noticed their stares and smiled kindly. Do not worry, friends. Your ship will be better than new when we finish with it. Humans do not like leaving jobs half done. Chief Bayek asked the senior Villani engineer, "Why do your people help us so much? We are not the same species. We have little to offer in return." Beck stopped his welding and looked at the gentle creature. "Friend, you were traveling under human protection when you were attacked. That makes you our responsibility. Besides, children were threatened. Humans do not tolerate that from anyone anywhere." On the bridge, Admiral Park stood before the main communication array broadcasting on all Kravak military frequencies. His message was being recorded and would spread throughout their empire within hours. The words he spoke were simple, but they would change how every aggressive species in the galaxy viewed human civilians. "Attention all Kravak forces and allies." His voice carried the cold authority of absolute military power. "Today, your third fleet attacked a civilian vessel under human protection. They took hostages, including women and children. They threatened to kill innocents for political gain. The third fleet no longer exists." The transmission showed images of the battle, Kravak warships being systematically disabled by precise human fire, boarding actions conducted with surgical efficiency, the rescue of every single hostage without a single civilian casualty. It was a demonstration of military capability that made other species reconsider their assumptions about human weakness. "Let this serve as notice to all who would threaten those under our protection," Admiral Park continued. "Human mercy does not mean negotiation with terrorists. It does not mean accepting the murder of innocents. It means ending threats quickly and permanently, so that good people can live in peace." Captain Tella of the Villani crew approached Admiral Park as the transmission ended. Her long ears drooped with exhaustion, but her large eyes showed gratitude, deeper than words could express. "Admiral Park, I must thank you for saving my people, but I do not understand why you brought so many ships for one cargo vessel." Park turned to look at the gentle creature, and his hard face softened slightly. "Captain Tella, when someone threatens human citizens, they threaten all of humanity. We respond with whatever force is necessary to end that threat completely. Your people were under our protection, so they became our people. We do not abandon our people ever." "But the cost," Tella said. "You must have spent enormous resources to mount this rescue operation. Fuel for 50 ships, weapons and ammunition, time and personnel. Why spend so much on beings you barely know?" Captain Park replied, "The cost of not responding would have been much higher. If we had let General Thex succeed, other species would think humans could be threatened and intimidated. More attacks would follow, more innocents would suffer. Sometimes the most merciful thing you can do is demonstrate overwhelming force to prevent future conflicts." In the cargo holds, human Marines helped reunite Villani families who had been separated during the attack. Children ran crying into the arms of parents they thought they would never see again. Adults wept with relief as they found their loved ones alive and unharmed. The sounds of joy echoed through corridors that had been filled with fear only hours before. Sergeant Na carried a small Villani girl who had been injured during the boarding action. She wrapped her thin arms around his neck and whispered thanks in her musical language. Na did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. This was why humans fought. This was why they trained and prepared and sacrificed, to protect moments like this from those who would destroy them. "Sergeant Na," the little girl said in broken galactic common, "are all humans as brave as you?" "Little one," Na replied gently, "humans are not brave because we do not feel fear. We are brave because we feel fear and do what is right anyway, especially when children are in danger." The Kravak survivors were loaded onto prison transports under heavy guard. They would be taken to human space for trial and processing before being returned to their government, with a very clear message. Among them was Vex, the former second-in-command, who had witnessed the entire battle. Colonel Kim interviewed him before the transport departed. "Do you understand what happened here today?" she asked the defeated lizard creature. Vex looked up at her with yellow eyes full of shock and confusion. "Your species destroyed an entire fleet to rescue one cargo ship. It makes no military sense. The resources expended far exceeded the strategic value of the target. That is where you are wrong," Kim explained. The strategic value was not the ship or even the cargo, it was the message. Everyone in the galaxy now knows what happens when someone threatens people under human protection. How many future attacks do you think this will prevent? But your reputation, Vex protested. Other species call you Deathworlders, violent primitives who solve everything with force. This will only confirm their fears. Kim smiled coldly. Good. Let them fear us. Fear prevents stupidity. Fear keeps peaceful people safe from predators like General Thex. If being feared means fewer children get hurt, then we will gladly be the monsters in other species' nightmares. 3 days later, the news of the Meridian Sector incident spread throughout galactic civilization. The story grew with each telling, but the core facts remained the same. Humans had responded to an attack on civilians with overwhelming military force. They had rescued every hostage and eliminated every threat. They had shown mercy by making the suffering end as quickly as possible. On the Hegemony homeworld, the ruling council met in emergency session to discuss the implications. The Hegemony had been planning to expand into human space using the same intimidation tactics the Kravak had employed. Those plans were quietly shelved and forgotten. The Vorthan Empire, which had been raiding human trade routes for months, suddenly found their fleets reassigned to other duties. The sight of burning Kravak ships had convinced them that humans were not the soft targets they had believed. The Stellar Compact issued new guidelines to all member species advising extreme caution when dealing with human civilians. The guidelines specifically warned against taking hostages or threatening violence against human protected persons. The penalty for ignoring this advice had been clearly demonstrated. 6 months later, Captain Yoon stood on the bridge of another cargo ship in another star system. His official title was still Security Advisor, but everyone knew what he really represented. He was a guarantee that peaceful beings could travel safely through dangerous space. His presence on a ship was a warning to pirates and raiders that their victims had very dangerous friends. Hana worked at her communication station monitoring dozens of frequencies for signs of trouble. Her equipment was more sophisticated than standard civilian gear because she needed to coordinate with human military forces across multiple sectors. Bach maintained weapons and defensive systems that were officially defensive but could hold off an attack long enough for help to arrive. Captain, Yoon asked the ship's captain, an elderly being from the consortium, "Do you really think the Kravak will try again? They lost so much in the last encounter." Yoon looked out at the stars moving past their viewport. "Captain, the Kravak learned their lesson. So did every other aggressive species that heard about what happened. They know now that attacking human protected vessels means facing the full response of our military. Most of them will find easier targets. And if they do not?" Yoon smiled, but his eyes remained cold. "Then they will discover that Admiral Park was being gentle with General Thex's fleet. Next time, the response might not be so merciful." The ship continued through space, carrying its cargo of peaceful beings to their new homes. Around them, the galaxy had become a slightly safer place because one species had demonstrated that mercy sometimes meant being strong enough to end evil before it could spread. The message had been sent and received. Human civilians were not helpless prey.